make it up to you, God willing, when this is over and we dedicate your monument. But in the meantime, we ask you mechila, we ask you forgiveness. We have a number of people who like to speak today, and we have a limit of time and how many people can attend a funeral. So I will spread out the speakers who would like to say a few words to us today. It is Erev Shabbat. It is the eve of the Sabbath. And therefore, there are a lot of prayers that are eliminated that we will not be reciting today. And there's no more befitting farewell to Rab Neach than on Erev Shabbat. Adonai ma'adam v'atidoyu ben enosh v'adechash v'yu. Adam lo evel dama yumav kitzel over baboki yatzitz v'chalaf l'erev yumalav yavish. Toshev enosh adak v'tomashuni adam. Luchach muyas kilozod yavin lachritam kilo v'moto yikach hakol lo yired achra. Oh, shmor tamarei Karit li shalom, noi nefesh avodav, v'lo yeshmu kol achot, simabohu. Lord, what is man that thou takest knowledge of him? Or the son of man that thou makest? We are like unto it. Our days, there's a shadow that passes away. In the morning we flourish and grow up. In the evening we are cut down and wither. Thou turnest to us in contrition and sayest, return, ye children of God. Oh, that they were wise, their latter end. For when a person dies, they shall carry nothing away. Their glory shall not descend after them. Mark the perfect person, and behold of the upright. The end of that person is shalom, is peace. The Lord redeems the souls of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be forsaken. I'm looking for my piece of paper. They got all wet already. So I would like to first call upon, as soon as I can open up this wet piece of paper, eldest son, Ben de Gershom, Brian, come up here. I'll move away and put on my mask.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. As all of you know, my dad was all about family, Judaism and Zionism. His values were exuded through his love of mishpacha, tefillah, mitzvot, and tzedakah. We all know that he wanted his descendants and future descendants to be strong, proud Jews and Zionists. Papa Norb was each of our own special super fans. When we were with him, he made us feel special in such incredible ways, and so present as if we were the center of the universe. Papa felt in each of our, and especially his grandkids' accomplishments. At each stage of our lives, he was always so loving, supportive, full of sound advice, never telling us what to do, but responding to our queries. What you all saw on the outside, whether a relative, a friend, or an acquaintance, was exactly the same on the inside with his immediate family, as he was so loved by all of us. Papa Norb was a huge influence on all of us, a giant in each of our lives, and the impact he had on all of us through his core values will be perpetuated through our memories, stories, and hopefully inspire our actions for generations to come. I love you. We love you, Dad. You are an amazing, selfless husband, son, brother, dad, papa, uncle, and role model to all. Your unconditional love and commitment to your values was moving beyond these brief words. May Papa Norb's memory always be for a blessing. Baruch Dayan Hamet.
Shir malos v'mamalkim karasich Adonai shima v'koli. Tienos nagashu v'kolto chananoi mavanot tishmor yo Adonai miyamokim chatzli chalamanti v'rein. Kiviti Adonai kivta nafshi v'liva racholti nafshi l'Adonai mishomrim laboker shomrim laboker. Yachel yis Adonai kim Adonai achesed v'abei f'mudut v'hu yivdet Yisrael mikol avonotav. Michael Aaron, Norb's second son, Michael from Jerusalem.
Norb, or Pops as I called him, left so many memories and so much love to everyone over the last 9 decades that he lived. From being born in 1932 during the Great Depression to having such a close relationship with his brother Rod and his sister Doreen, to celebrating the end of World War II in downtown Milwaukee with his father, and then being drafted not many years later in the Army to serve in Newfoundland, and then eventually meeting Judy in 1960 in the early 60s and getting married in 1965. Having 3 amazing, beautiful children, Brian, Laura, and myself, to leveraging his amazing artistic talent and starting his own business in the early 1970s and being a loving and incredible father and husband. During the preceding years, his Jewish pride and involvement in Temple Menorah grew, as well as his Zionism flourished while visiting Israel 25 times with Judy. Having his 3 children marry beautiful people and individuals, Ruth, Rachel, and Kenny, to creating more generations with 6 amazing grandchildren, Ben, Ella, Geffen, Daniela, Yoni, and Eden. And not only having the grandchildren be there, but having such a special, deep relationship with each one and always having unlimited attention for them. Norb was a dedicated, proud Jew, a certified Temple Menorah millionaire, a Zionist who successfully carried on the traditions of his late father, Reb Tevye Dave Eglash, and his mother, Ruth. Pops was married 55 and a half years to Judy, and their marriage going stronger each day until the very, very end. My wife, Ruth, who's coming on Monday from Israel, always said that Norb was always waiting for the perfect breeze, the perfect breeze. Well, Norb, Pops, you got it today. We love you.
Shilamalo says Nai, Ele Armian Yavo Azri Memar Noy says Shamay Lawrence. Yitain Lamo Ragla Hainum Sharacha Hine, Loyanum, Veloishan, Shomer Israel. Anoy Shamrecha Notilcha Yadi Menecha Yom Hashemesh Leakeka Rakbalala. I don't know Yishmor Chamikol Ra, Yishmor Nafshecha, I don't know Yishmor Tzeitcha, Uvarecha Meata Biad. This time I'll call upon Laura, Norb and Judy's daughter, who would like to address us.
My dad was literally loved by all who met him. He was the type of person you always wanted to be seated next to at your dinner table. He was thoughtful, intelligent, humble, and the kindest human who was always content with what he had and never asked for more. When there was an upcoming birthday or a special holiday, my brothers and I would ask him what he wanted for a present. He always told us to save our money for ourselves. We usually didn't listen though, and I think one of our favorite purchases the past few years was an Adidas jogging suit that he proudly wore while working out at the YMCA up until just last year. I have so many happy memories of my dad, but what stands out the most is his intense love of family. He was incredibly proud to be a papa and loved each of his grandkids so much. He would light up every time he saw them, even if it had to be a virtual visit. He never hung up the phone, a phone call, or in-person visit without saying, "I love you," and never said goodbye, only lehitraot, which means see you later in Hebrew, because he never really wanted to say goodbye. So today, it's not goodbye, Dad. Your memory will always be a blessing to us, and you will live on in the generations you created, and all the future generations to come. Lehitraot.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לך שור בנשדשי הרביציני הממלכות ינעלני נפשי ישובב ידכני מעלה הצדק למען שמו גם כי ילך בגיא המוות לא ירא כי אתה עמדי שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צרורי דשנת והשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה אך טוב החסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. At this time, I'd like to call might have to wing this at the end now because it's getting... All right, Daniela, grandchild, on behalf of all the grandchildren, including Yoni, Ben, Geffen, Ella, and Eden, they're all going to stand together here as Daniela speaks. You can take your hands off.
Pop always knew how to make each of his grandchildren feel special. Whether we were in Pittsburgh, Israel, Chicago, distance was never an issue. He listened to us, he played with us, and he always gave the warmest hugs, reminding us how much he loved us, how he's proud of us, and how he would see us soon. I had the pleasure spending the past 2.5 years just 15 minutes away. Although the past few months have felt a little different, I will never trade our junk food nights, Rubby Cube tournaments, or conversations over St. Paul's fish for the world. Just like you would always say, Pops, it's not goodbye, it's Lahitro. We love you forever, Pops. May his memory be a blessing.
Words that come from the heart pierce one's heart, and all of your words here today have pierced everybody's heart near and far. I'm going to try to conclude with a few of my own words. My paper is getting all smeared from the snow. No. Erev Shabbat, we're not really supposed to eulogize because the Sabbath, the Shabbat, is a time of celebration. But how can you not eulogize someone on their day of their funeral? So I would like to start off with a Devar Torah, a couple words of Torah from the Bible. This week's portion, synagogues around the world will be reading tomorrow. We are concluding the book of Breshit, the book of Genesis, Parshat Vayechi. And the word Vayechi means the life of. This is the demise of the patriarch of Israel, Jacob. And he gathers his family together. He gives them blessings, tells them how much he loves them, gives them, according to their characteristic, what type of person they were, what type of blessing. They all stand together as they say farewell to the patriarch of Israel. And today, to me, I think to all of us here around the world, please realize we are saying farewell to a patriarch of Israel. I am not related to the Eglashes directly through bloodlines, but I've been a part of this family almost since we came to Milwaukee almost 60 years ago. A wonderful family, wonderful parents, the grandparents. Reb Neach, I never called him Norb. It was always Reb Neach. The word Reb means my teacher, my leader, my rabbi. Because Norb was the closest thing to a rabbi than someone that didn't have ordination. He was the right-hand man at Temple Menorah. He was the gabbai. He was the one that conducted services. When my father passed away, the first person to say, Hineni, here I am, was Reb Neach. Gelezer, whatever you want, I will be there for you. And he did services. He read from the Torah. A half Torah that he could open up a book within a second and start to chant. Mr. Garfinkel, may he rest in peace, one of the prize students, not to say you weren't, but one of the prize students, aside from Rod, was Reb Neach. He was so learned. He was such a loved individual. The B'nai Mitzvot of Temple Menorah would always sit next to Reb Neach, to Norb, so he could help them find the pages. He could teach them. When Reb Tevye passed away, Reb Neach moved up to the front row to take his father's seat. There's an individual here that comes every Shabbat that told me Norb Eglash inspired him to learn to do Haftorahs. And that was his goal, to read every Haftorah like Reb Neach could do. An artist like you've never seen before. The man could draw, he could design, as he's designed for many of you, he's designed for my children, pictures of their names with beautiful colors in Hebrew and English. This is who he was. He wanted to be close to everybody. But if you ever dared to put him on a pedestal and to give him honor, he would be angry with you. He was one person that did not chase after, and he avoided the spotlight. This is the type of individual we're saying farewell to. Irreplaceable in this world. When he would get mad at somebody, what was his favorite word? He would call the person a shmendrik, right? Reb Neach, that was a synagogue, in the synagogue. Reb Neach would call a person, he's a shmendrik. What are you worried about? And if you dared speak ill of Israel, or a prime minister of Israel, a president of Israel, you were in trouble. You cannot see the Aron, the casket, but we decided we're going to cover his casket with an Israeli flag. And we're going to end this service singing the Hatikva, because that's who Norb Eglash was in life, and please remember him in death, that was after his family. And boy, nauseating sometimes how he prays about you guys, grandkids, everything. And Ben, you're not here with us. You're in Israel. How he would rave about what you accomplished. Every little thing that you told him, he repeated at the minyan, because he was so proud of you as a chayal, as he was proud of all of your grandkids. I have so many more things to talk about. He was honored as Man of the Year at our synagogue. I could write a book on Reb Neach. I could write a book about Reb Neach. So, my dear family, nothing I'm going to say is going to bring you comfort other than you have such wonderful memories. And each and every one of you were dear to him. Whether he agreed with you or not, you were his family. You were mishpacha. And you were the most important thing. Judy, what can I say to you? You're really a woman of valor. I got the mic. Judy, I have the microphone. I want you also to know that Norb's wishes many years ago was only I was going to speak at the funeral. And that was going to be unacceptable today. But Judy, you are truly an Eshet Chayil. You're a woman of valor. You cared for Norb. You loved him. You traveled with him. You forced him to watch TV too much. Whatever it was, you were him and he was you. So these are the memories we have. Reb Noach, I wish we were in the synagogue to say goodbye, to say farewell. You're one of a kind. And if Webster's dictionary had the word mensch, the definition would be Reb Noach Eglash. Kenny, I know you wanted to say a few words, so please come up and then we'll conclude with the interment service.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon. In case you don't know me, I'm Kenny Fishman, and Norb was my father-in-law. On behalf of myself and my sisters-in-law, Rachel and Ruth, I would like to share a few words. When you join a family through marriage, you pick your spouse, and as an added bonus, you acquire an assortment of new family members and friends. For some, this can be a steep price to pay. For Rachel, Ruth, and I, it was a wonderful and continual blessing, as we could not have picked out better or kinder in-laws than Jordy and Norb. Norb's family is the center of his existence. From the moment that we began to join the Eglash family, he took us in as his own and showed us the same love, compassion, understanding, and grace that he shared with his children by birth. Norb was an extremely special man and father-in-law. His love of family, community, Judaism, and the Jewish state was infectious. His love of family was the glue that held this very close family even closer. My daughter Eden and her cousins, Daniela, Yoni, Ben, Geffen, and Ella, were especially blessed to have Papa Norb as their Saba. With his limitless patience and abundant kindness, he made every one of his grandkids feel like they were the center of his universe. All the grandkids loved staying with Grandma and Papa, whether it was playing chess with Papa or listening to Papa share stories of his youth, service in the army, or other adventures. Papa Norb served as an inspiration to all his grandkids and a rock to our family. I know how very much Papa Norb wanted to be here for my daughter Eden's bar mitzvah next year. And although his physical presence or his physical absence will be palpable, I'm sure that his love for his granddaughter and all things Jewish will permeate our simcha, and that he will be there quelling in spirit. Ruth, Rachel, and I and family will always share the memories of our father-in-law, Nobert Eglash. We love you. Lehitrot.
By the way, Kenny, I want to correct you. He never called you. Kenny, you listening to me? Kenny, I'm over here. Just to correct you, you made a little bit of a mistake, because Reb Noach never considered you guys not his own children. And he called you son and daughter, Rachel, daughter. This is who Reb Noach was. You were his children. And you should know that. You were not in-laws by any means. And never did he differentiate between his own children and his in-law children. So I want to let you know that that's how he referred to you as. We have a tradition in Judaism as we're going to begin the interment. And if you look around here, for those of you who are around the world, this is not exactly the land of Israel. Our dream is to be buried, our final resting place in the land of Israel. And the tradition that we have, we bring a little bit of Israel to Milwaukee. And there are packets of soil that are someplace underneath the snow here that, no, Michelle, you got to, hold on. We're okay. But before we do that, I'm going to call back on Michael to come forward. He'd like to share something with all of us here today. So, and you all back in Israel, please listen carefully.
As Rabbi Gelazer said, we bring some soil and some special rocks from Eretz Yisrael that only 24 hours after we heard about the passing of Papa, Ben came up with the idea of gathering some rocks from Israel and giving them to us to bring here to place with Papa because of his love of Israel and for him to be buried with the rocks that were collected from a very special place called the Castle, which overlooks the main highway on the way to Jerusalem and was an old Roman fortress thousands of years ago. But during the War of 1948, it was a strategic location overlooking the road leading to Jerusalem. And it was the scene of a very intense battle between what was the Israeli army, the beginnings of the Israeli army, against the Jordanians. And many Israeli soldiers lost their lives fighting and eventually conquering that hill, which then led to the liberation of Jerusalem and the creation of the state of Israel. And they went on the top of the castle and they picked up these rocks to honor Papa and to be placed with him as on his final resting place. So here they are.
You want to put them down? Yeah. And you want to get all the other grandkids? Yeah. Okay. Grandchildren, please come forward and honor Rabnea. You guys got to be very careful. What? All right, as they are going to place these holy rocks from Eretz Yisrael, from Medina Yisrael, we have one request. We are going to honor Reb Noach. Before we recite the Kaddish, we're going to chant the Hatikvah as we're going to remove the flag before we lower the casket. So please join in all around the world. Nefesh Yehudi Omiya Ufatek Mizrach Kadima Ayin Letzio Sophia O lo avda tikvatenu Atikva shnot apayim Liotam chafshi. All right, please join in as we'll recite the Kaddish in unison. Yiskadal, Yiskadash, Shemei Rabbah. Yisbarach, Yishtabach, Yispar, Yisraman, Yisnaseh. Yisadar, Yisaleh, Yisalal, Shmei de Kutshabrichu. Leila, Min Kol, Berchata, Bishirata, Tush Bechata, Venechmata, Damiran, Beama, Bimromein. Yehi Shalom, Rabba, Min Shemaya, Bechayim, Aleinu. Viakol Yisrael, Bimromein. Oseh Shalom, Bimromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Later. We have also brought along prayer books, prayer shawls, stalasim, and so on to be buried with Reb Nach to give him that honor. That is an honor to be buried along with the holy and sacred books of Judaism. Please remember to check the schedule for all the Zoom minions and a Havdalah service tomorrow night. And there's certain times of Shiva visitations, both from Israel, that will be held privately, and then for everybody here in the United States to join in. Please refer to the website of the Saminsky Weiss Funeral Home for more information. Just to explain to everybody, the placing of the books is the most honorable thing we can do for an individual. In Judaism, the greatest mitzvah, the greatest commandment you can do is Ovayat Tamet, to saying farewell to the dead, to make sure you fulfill all of the laws and customs, to placing even the dirt, the soil upon the grave, because it is one good deed you can do without a thank you from that person that's receiving it. Our thanks comes from the Almighty. So at this time, we're going to try to break through the frozen soil and place a shovel or two or three upon the grave. We do not hand the shovel back and forth, so we don't pass, not COVID, we don't pass sorrow from one hand to the other. With that in mind, if you're not wearing gloves, there's some sanitizer here if you're going to be shoveling and you don't want to have the germs from the shovel. So when you're finished shoveling, you're going to place it back into the ground and then let the next person come forward. I will take the first couple shovels. I'll do it backwards to show how this is a mitzvah, a commandment we are doing. We do it, unfortunately, with a very heavy heart. There, if the family would like to come, please be very careful. It's very slippery here. And then before we leave, we'll all offer words of comfort as now the Shiva period is begin. Rob, you want to go to this side or stay there? All right, let us offer words of comfort to the family. It's hard to make a shura, to make a line here because of the snow. So let us all turn to the mourners and say, Hamakom Yinachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avelei Sion V'Yerushalayim. May the Lord comfort you in your bereavement among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. May God wipe away the tears from upon the face of all his children, and let us say, Amen. This concludes the service. All of you are on Zoom. Thank you for being here and supporting the Mishpacha, the family. I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Please be very careful traveling home. It is very, very slippery here in Milwaukee. And watch how you make your way back to your cars.